Well, ladies and gentlemen, my video today is a little bit late. Now, the reason for that is because, well, I actually thought that the US would have gone to war with Iran by now, and I thought I'd actually make a video on that. But, well, they haven't. They're kind of procrastinating. So, despite saying that if the Iranians kill people, and the Iranians have killed a lot of people, that the US would intervene, they haven't intervened. So I don't really know what's going on that front. So I'm actually going to make a different video, and that is really around the ANC, because you see the ANC is canvassing for the next elections. Now, I once had lunch with Gator McKenzie, and Gator McKenzie said, me, need to be a little bit courteous to the President of the Republic. And I said, well, why? I don't really like Ramaphosa. He said, well, it's not Ramaphosa you need to be courteous about. It's the position of president. So in respect to Gator McKenzie, my comments are not about the President of the Republic, they're about the President of the ANC, so Ramaphosa, who I must be honest to say my disdain of is just at an all-time high. And I'm going to go through this video, and really I think we all know why everybody just hates the guy. He is just retarded, and at this point in time I have so many questions around the corruption of Ramaphosa, but let's get to it. But before I do, can I yet again remind you, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. So, let's actually all start this off with youth unemployment, because youth unemployment in South Africa is a huge problem. Now, Gwede Matashe sparked backlash after remarks that he made, suggesting that the only reason we have unemployed youth in South Africa is because they are lazy, basking in the sun all day, he said, and simply they should just go out there and apply for jobs. If they did that, they'd get jobs. Now, the ANC say that his comments were an insult to millions of unemployed young South Africans. And they threatened to disrupt the ANC's January 8th celebrations, which have occurred, by the way, and we'll talk about those in a second. Now, they announced plans to storm the stage and hand CVs directly to Ramaphosa. Now, the ANC's Youth League's leader framed Ramaphosa's US trip as cowardly, a waste of taxpayer money, and something that ministers should personally repay to the taxpayer. Now, the reason for that is they said that he shouldn't have gone there because, Trump's a racist and an imperialist and all the rest of it, and so according to them, Ramaphosa should never have gone to explain himself to the world's most powerful man. Anyway, Fikile Mbalula stepped in as party enforcer, and he says that Matashe's claim was misquoted, and I must say, no, it wasn't. Matashe genuinely thinks that you just sit around all day getting, BE tenders and self-enriching yourself at the expense of the taxpayer, but the rest of the Republic, well, they're just lazy because they're not making enough for him to steal. Now, Mbalula ordered Gwede Matashe to publicly clarify his comments or face disciplinary action. And he warns that these views cannot be ANC policy, but the disdain that the ANC actually has for the Republic now, it's really quite bad. The ANC itself hates the Republic almost as much as the Republic hates the ANC. Now, turning to Mbalula, he also had some numerous interesting comments to make because he's also on the campaign trail, and he publicly called for an end to experience required for entry-level jobs. He said that on-the-job training should be offered instead of gatekeeping through experience. Now, he made a theatrical pledge. He said that if an employer demands experience for entry-level work, refer them to me, and this includes municipalities and government bodies. Somehow, Fikile now thinks he's the king of the country and can tell everybody what to do. Yet again, the disdain that the ANC has for the Republic is just off the charts. Now, he says that graduates standing at traffic lights with placards shouldn't really be a thing, and he says that their qualifications are collecting dust at home. Yes, because the education system, including the graduate education system in South Africa, is broken. Getting a degree in public service or gender studies or decolonializing history isn't exactly a recipe to get employed. The degrees people are walking away with are frankly useless. Now, he acknowledges that the unemployment rate, the unemployment crisis, with the official rate at 32%, is actually low, because in reality, youth unemployment is probably even higher. But you see, the retarded nonsense coming out of Fikile Mbalula can only be matched by the retarded nonsense coming out of Cyril Ramaphosa. According to Fikile Mbalula, Donald Trump says that the ANC, their government, is really killing white people. He says, and that's a lie. He says that what's really happening here is that white people are against transformation. He says that we introduce black economic empowerment so our people can benefit in the business space. But we've just talked about youth unemployment being at record high, so no one's benefiting from anything that the ANC had to say. But still, At the 8th of January comment, they had this to say.
And I was explaining a story here, Kiri. Journalist no se simbaring ki Donald Trump. Are re bolaya makgowa mo. Ke tlhalosa ka boripana hela kere. Moruo wa naga ye o tshwerwe ke bomang. O tshwerwe ke makgowa. And then we introduce black economic empowerment so that boma isol ba ade in the business space. Uri no, we must not do that. Re bolaya makgowa mo South Africa mo. So makgowa o kila le bona lekgowa le le sa bereking. O kila le bona lekgowa le le dulang mo mokhukhu. So transformation is about changing the lives of the people for the better. And that is why re lwanelang gore go nne le change in our country. So ditseno tse di batlang go tseya South Africa ba ba batlang gore gatela re tshwantse re lwane re sireletse South Africa ya rona. This is our country. We don't have two passports, we've got one. And we must be in solidarity with others. Baba tlatlapiwa mo lehatsheng.
Now, you see, the reason that this is all so important and the reason that we all see the ANC for who they are is that in 94, Cyril Ramaphosa, Jacob Zuma, Gwede Matashe, all of these individuals weren't really worth a lot of money. Today, Cyril Ramaphosa is worth 6.4 billion. Gwede Matashe is worth 2.7 billion. He's the very person telling everybody else that they're lazy. But you know, what's really interesting is that Jacob Zuma is only worth 290 million, which does raise the question as to whether all the corruption that occurred under his watch with Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa in the wings, where was the corruption actually occurring? Was it occurring with Zuma or with the Deputy President? I don't know. You let me know what you think in the comments. But you see, what Fikile Mbalula says is that all of the BEE stuff, all these things that they're doing, is really so that black Africans can give back to themselves. In fact, he had this to say.
Because that is what a black African must be. You must not become a capitalist nigger. When you get something, you don't change lives. And I think you will go a long way because what you do, you think and you want to change others and empower them.
But you see, the reality is that many of these individuals are not giving back to the communities. They are self-enriching, they're buying new Lamborghinis and new Ferraris, and the community is none the richer. But don't worry, Fikile Mbalula has a plan. What he wants to do is to nationalize the Reserve Bank and implement land expropriation without compensation. Right, so he's becoming populist now that nobody actually believes anything he has to say, and he's sitting there insulting his very own voter base. In fact, have a watch.
This economy is not only about tenders. It's about owning the mines. It's about participating in the means of production of this economy. It's about ensuring that young people do emerge from entrepreneurs to become petty bourgeoisies. It can't be Mutsipe alone. And that is why nationalization of the Reserve Bank is a resolution of the ANC. It must be implemented. Comrades, expropriation of land without compensation when we get back our power must be implemented. Comrades, we lost many opportunities when we got two-thirds majority. Peter Mokaba was still alive. And the collusion we are still going to have with Donald Trump and the Americans challenging transformation in our country is going to be around what we are going to do when we get decisive power to govern this country. We must stop complaining and behave like as if we are not in power. We are governing this country.
So yes, the ANC's plan to fix the country is to steal land and to divide the land that they stole amongst their comrades while nationalizing the money printer so they can print more money, which they themselves can steal. Like I said, the ANC really hates you. Now, for all of us watching the ANC going, what the hell is really going on here? I mean, the ANC is just full of crack. They don't really seem to be able to actually give a coherent answer on how to fix the republic. Don't worry, there's a reason that they're like this, and Cyril Ramaphosa tells us. Have a watch.
Well, yes, the process of transforming our country was never going to be a one-day event. And it was also going to be a generational process. It took 347 years to destroy the future of this country. The colonialists who came here, the apartheid regime, destroyed the fortunes of this country by dispossessing the assets of our people. Wherever you go now, you see how people were impoverished, how they were dispossessed. And wherever you go, you see people who have not been given the necessary skills and knowledge. So 347 years it took to bring this country to the sad state that it is. Now, in 30 years, we will not be able to reverse that history completely. But a real attempt is being made. A real attempt is being made in changing the lives of our people. And in many ways, the efforts that we are making are beginning to show progress. You look at education. The apartheid regime did not seek to educate the people of South Africa. Today, we've got an avalanche of young people who are now in our education institutions, and we are funding them. We are moving more and more towards almost free education. At the high school, at the primary level, early childhood development and high school, we have that. At the university level, we've got now almost 800,000 to 1 million young people that we are funding. So we're focusing on the issues that are going to transform lives, to undo the damage that was done over 300 years of the past misrulers of our country. So, yes, it is a concerning matter that many of our people still live in poverty, and we are never going to run away from that. But efforts are being made. We are working day and night and vigorously. It is a concerning matter that many of our people don't work. So we keep attending to that. It's a concerning matter that there's still crime in our country, but we are working on that and finding solutions.
So yeah, I bet all of you are super surprised it's because of, apartheid and 350 years worth of colonial repression. But I'm reminded that apartheid only occurred in the 1940s and occurred for a 30-year period, and that prior to that, South Africa wasn't a modern industrialized economy. It was a dust bowl where everything had to be developed. So what is he smoking? Many other countries around the world, including Singapore, were able to modernize and to redo everything in their country to rebuild it into a modern empire in the same time period. Now, you may ask yourself the question as to why Cyril Ramaphosa says this. Well, we all know, and that is because the ANC hasn't had a lack of opportunities. It hasn't been a short amount of time for them to develop the country. It's that the ANC have been too embedded in stealing everything they can get their hands on. We all have seen the level of corruption that has come out of these cadres, and it has been off the charts. Now, because of that, at the ANC's birthday bash on the 8th of January, they couldn't even fill up a rural stadium. Now, it's important to understand a rural stadium is smaller than a national stadium, much smaller. And they even went to the northwest, where supposedly they have a very strong voter base. But even after bussing supporters in from other provinces, the stadium was visually only half full. Now, the event was plagued by long delays, heat, and people leaving even before Cyril Ramaphosa could speak. There were empty chairs and poor logistics, which is exactly how the ANC governs the country. Now, the journey to the venue exposed potholes, infrastructure decay, and last-minute cosmetic repairs. And I don't know why, wherever the president goes, it's almost like they want to rub everything and make it look all nice and pretty, so that somehow he has a false impression of what's actually going on in the country. In any case, Ramaphosa declared that 2026 was the year of decisive action. I mean, he hasn't been declaring that for nearly 12 years now. In any case, his key pledges were to fix local government, to end load shedding permanently, even though I thought we had already ended it. I mean, we're supposedly not having any. And to improve water infrastructure. Now, it's important to understand that the way he said he's going to do this is he's going to invest billions in local municipalities. And I'm sure all the cadres were rubbing their hands going, yes, please. Anyway, he admits that municipal load reduction continues due to debt and illegal connections. Oh, okay. So we don't have load shedding. What we have is people not paying their bills, and as a result, Eskom just cuts them off. Now that's being classed as load reduction. Well, that used to be not paying your bills. But anyway, in terms of the economy, he says that we're at a turning point after 15 years of stagnation, with public employment programs cited all as a success. I don't know how, because in Fikile Mbalula's speech, he said that unemployment in South Africa was a huge problem, specifically with youth unemployment. Now we hear that employment programs done by the government, I might add, yeah, they're great. Yeah, the ANC talks with a forked tongue. In any case, he reaffirmed an absolute commitment to BEE and describes empowerment laws as being under severe attack. It's not that they're under severe attack. Everybody just knows them for what they are. They're enrichment schemes for ANC cadres, and people are bored of enriching the ANC. Now, he gave an anti-corruption message. So does that mean he's locking himself up? I don't know. He said that billions had been recovered via the SIU and asset forfeiture. He said that ongoing Zondo prosecutions were occurring. But what prosecutions? I haven't seen any. Have you seen any? Let me know in the comments. In any case, he says that the party's renewal is pushing ahead. Otherwise, the party will perish. And we all pray daily that the party will perish into the dustbin of history. Anyway, he claims that thousands have been trained politically. What, in the NDR, communism? And he says that the national dialogue push, despite rejection by key oppositions, that's the DA, and civil society groups, that's every society not bought for by the ANC. Well, according to him, the national dialogue is still going ahead, and we're still going to have it, although he doesn't really tell us where, how, or when. Anyway, let's get on to the BE debacle, and this just took the cake. And let's just start off by saying that Gwede Matasha declared that anybody who debates, remember that's debates, BEE is promoting white supremacy. Yes, remember that silencing debates is never a good thing. But anyway, if you do, it's white supremacy. Now, he frames BE as a moral struggle and not an economic policy. Oh, okay, so Cyril says it's an economic policy. Now it's a moral struggle. Got it. And he says that it's essential to black ownership and dignity. Why? Because blacks are unable to succeed without a leg up from the state, without state control. Is that what you're saying? Because that's pretty racist. You're saying that black people cannot thrive on their own. And he claims that the mining sector is a success, even though South Africa's mining is at the worst state it's ever been, with the mining industry frequently citing threats of collapse over and over again. It's amazing how the ANC seems to think that success is defined by collapsing an industry. He says that in terms of coal, that's 80% black owned, and in terms of manganese, that's over 50% owned. And I'm sure the other 50% is owned by Chinese. And he says that attacks on BE are from white-dominated parties, including the DA and the Freedom Front Plus, who he accused of hating BE because of shifts in ownership. I don't think it's the shifts of ownership that they're worried about. It's actually the corruption and the fraud that goes with it. In any case, he conveniently forgot that actually BE is estimated as costing the economy 3% GDP annually. And he also conveniently forgets that BE is just being used to enrich politically connected elites, which all the studies have shown us. He also conveniently forgot that the public opinion polls are now showing that the majority support phasing out or scrapping BE, and many believe that race-based laws do more harm than good. But you see, as far as he's concerned, a man who himself has been enriched through many BE schemes, as has the president, well, the ANC has flat out refused to reform or reconsider BE. In fact, they're doubling down on it in terms of racial framing. Because when nothing else is left to steal, Miles will trust steal the unstealable. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, that's the bullshit from the ANC today. I must admit that I have never hated this party as much as I do now, and my hatred of them is getting worse by the day, because they are just destroying the country that we all want to live in. Peacefully, we just want to have a peaceful existence, but the ANC just wants to steal and blame everybody else for it. It's like having a bully as your government who keeps hitting you in the face and telling you, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself. It's that abusive husband that keeps promising you that he only hits you because he loves you and he'll change eventually, even though tomorrow morning he's going to give you another black eye. The ANC is a plague on the state, and they really do need to go. But that's just my opinion. Do let me know what you think in the comment section below. Until tomorrow, bye.